Good evening and welcome to the April 27th, 2022 City Council Finance Committee hearing. With us this evening, committee members present, Councilor Cruz, Vice President Van Hazinga, and myself, Councilor Di Natale. President Zarella will not be attending this evening due to an illness, and Councilor Boschman is away on vacation. We will begin with an advisement that FATV is conducting an audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. I ask that anyone else in the audience who is recording this meeting to please identify themselves for the record now by standing and stating their name and address. Seeing none, at this time I ask that all electronic devices be placed into silent mode. Public comment period. If there's anyone in the audience wishing to speak before the committee on any item on the agenda, they have 2 minutes to do so. Please stand at the center table and state your name and address for the record and the item in which you are speaking on. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak? Seeing none, we will move on to the agenda. 6722, in order that there being hereby is appropriated the sum of $55,000 to be charged against available funds and credited to Building Department vehicle replacement for the purpose of replacing an inspection vehicle. This was held from the April 13th, 2022 Finance Committee meeting. Commissioner Barbadaro.
Hi.
So last we met, there was discussion about an alternative option for a vehicle.
Yes.
And what do you have for us?
I have a less expensive vehicle. I have a quote. I have a feeling the quote has expired, but it is $35,405.65. I would request at least, $4,000 or $5,000 over that, so I can make sure that I can get the vehicle in case this one is not available and another one would be. The purpose is, if I may, is because an inspector was driving and his vehicle was totaled. So he is without a vehicle. He is using the plumbing inspector's vehicle. The plumbing inspector has retired, and we have a private contractor who is using his own vehicle, but we are expecting in the next 15, 30 days, we'll have a new plumbing inspector, and we will need another vehicle for that. So it was unanticipated that the vehicle, the need for the vehicle, which has caused me to kind of scramble a little bit to try and figure it all out.
But you did mention that the vehicle that was damaged, that was probably the worst shaped vehicle you had in the fleet as it was?
It is. I have requested to get the vehicle replaced for approximately 3 years. I think the time is getting right. The vehicle is about 9 years old. All of the fleet were bought at the same time. I'm proposing down the road to stagger them so that it isn't one giant expenditure for the city in 1 year, but we do them once a year until we get all of the vehicles new, and then wait 5 years and then come back and do the same cycle all over again, 5 to 7 years.
Could I entertain a motion for an amendment to the order to make it $40,000?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to amend 6722 to change it from $55,000 to $40,000. If there are no discussions on this amendment, I'll take this on unanimous consent.
I do have one
Oh,
question.
Councilor Cruz, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You said that the vehicle was totaled, so this was another vehicle crashing into our vehicle?
Yes.
And how, with the insurance company, because it's someone else, we should be able to recoup some of these funds for the vehicle from their
I'm sorry, can you say that again? I'm hard of hearing.
My bad. So because it was another vehicle totaling our vehicle, we should be able to recoup some or most of the funds from that insurance company, should we not?
Yes, I referred the matter to the solicitor's office, who is the one who handles the claim. So we should be getting some value from the vehicle, but it is a 9-year-old vehicle.
Gotcha. Okay, that's all. Thank you. I yield the floor.
Okay, motion made and seconded to amend the order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. It is before you as amended.
Motion to approve 6722.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 6722 as amended. If there are no objections, I'll take this under unanimous consent. Seeing none, it is adopted. Thank you.
Thank you.
9822, in order that the City of Fitchburg approves the expenditure of funds from the Massachusetts Department of Fire Services Firefighter Safety Equipment Grant in the approximate amount of $25,000 for the purpose of said grant, which is to purchase in-suit communication system radios to be used by the hazmat team and a combustible gas meter. Chief Suarez.
Thank you, councilors. Could I speak on, Mr. Chairman, could I speak on both 98 and 99?
Yes, let me take that also. 9922, that the City of Fitchburg approves the expenditure of funds from the Mass Office of Grant and Research Grant in the approximate amount of $2,500 for the purpose of said grant, which is to purchase a defibrillator.
So the $25,000 grant, that was awarded to us from the Department of Fire Services. And what we're going to use that grant for is to buy 4 portable radios, which we'll use in our hazmat suits. They're special radios. They have a special key so that you can actually key the mic from the outside. You don't have to deglove your arm to get into it. And with that grant also, we'll have a gas meter, which will monitor the gases outside of the suit in the area that the guys will be working. The DFib grant, that was awarded to us by this Office of Public Safety, and that is so we can purchase a brand-new defibrillator so that we could put on one of our pieces, which currently doesn't have one, or has an older model that needs to be replaced.
Make a motion to approve 9822 and 9922?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the grants for 9822 and 9922. If there are no objections, I'll take this under unanimous consent. Seeing none, they're both
Thank you very
recommended to the
much.
council.
Thank you.
Next item is 100-22, in order that there being hereby is transferred from within the sum of $16,750 to be charged against Health Personal Services Weights and Measures Inspector and credited to Health Expense Weights and Measures charges for the purpose of covering expenses associated with the annual testing and sealing of commercial weighing and measuring devices. Director Curry, prompt, as always.
Timing is impeccable. Thank you, councilors. Yes, I'm just seeking to move available funds from the personal services to expenses to cover the cost of the state doing the weights and measures services for the city. Due to a low application process on the previous posting, we will be reposting that position to hopefully gain some more interest in that position. But for FY22, the state took care of it, so we have a little bit of time.
What do you mean by a low application process? Do you
We've only
mean
had-
we didn't get a lot of applicants that were
No.
qualified?
No, there were only a couple of applicants.
Okay. So we're going to repost.
So we're going to repost,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Make a motion to approve 122?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 100-22. If there are no objections, I'll take this under unanimous consent. Seeing none, it's favorably recommended. Thank you. 101-22, order that there being hereby is appropriated the sum of $150,000 to be charged against available funds and credited to police personal services overtime. Chief Martineau.
Good evening, councilors. I put this request forward this evening as we get to the end of the year. Our overtime budget is almost depleted. In FY22, the Fitchburg Police Department received a budget for overtime in the amount of $485,000. This request of $150,000 will cover the remaining 5.5 payrolls in the fiscal year this year. There's a few different reasons why we surpassed our overtime this past year. First and foremost, we've been down roughly 12 positions all year, and backfilling on overtime has really depleted quite a bit of the overtime available funds. But more importantly, in April, we had 2 major incidents that happened within the city that really took an exceptional amount of manpower to respond to both of those events. And the last thing that really offset the overtime this year was the expenditures that were coming out as we were paying compensatory time payout out of the overtime budget, this is the first time in the fiscal year we've done it. So because of those different factors, the 485 was not sufficient for this year. I feel pretty confident that the 150 will get us to the end of this fiscal year, but 1, 2, 3 large events, you don't know what could happen. So I'm here tonight asking for the 150 to try to get me through July, and we'll pay attention 1 week at a time on events as they come in. I'd be happy to ask any questions about my overtime budget that you may have.
Sure, I'll go.
Counselor Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of quick things. I think when overtime comes into the public's perception, there's always the question of what it's being used for. Is the staff kind of, waiting to file paperwork? What are the reasons? But it sounds very much like we've had some on circumstances we couldn't prepare for, and it wasn't just officers, holding out, as we've seen in other areas like Baltimore and other areas in the country.
That's the furthest from the truth, Counselor. First of all, the reduction in staff this year, like I said, between 10 and 12 officers, just putting out a minimum shift of 5 to 6 officers has required significant amount of overtime. But I referred to 2 large incidents that happened in the city, which are still under investigation. I can't go in depth on those, but that required such a response from my department, especially the first 48 hours of those types of incidents, how much manpower goes into those. That's what really drew it off this year. But another thing the last thing I referred to is the compensatory time buyback that is now being tapped into our overtime account. That's something I can't even budget for. I can't even project in any given fiscal year because you could have an officer that requests to be paid out on compensatory time, and that's time that's in lieu of overtime. So there is one that I can't even project for. And this year was just a perfect storm. My overtime request in my FY23 budget is significantly higher. And even that, I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. I do my best to try to project my requested amounts. And this is just one of those line items that it's dependent on criminal activity, large-scale events. For example, next week I have Spree Day at Fitchburg State University. The resources that take for a 2-day event is astonishing. If I didn't put those resources out there, it would be chaos. So it's events like that we try to plan ahead. Another large event that we consider that are trying to plan for is the Civic Day events. Our block party, that takes in excess of anywhere from 20 to 30 police officers to provide proper and adequate security for an event that large. So, overtime is something that I scrutinize week in and week out. Our average overtime payroll is anywhere from $25,000 to $30,000 a payroll. And, it's something that, like I said, I scrutinize week to week. And this year was just a perfect storm between the 3 things that I outlined this evening.
Thank you, Chief. I completely understand, but I know overtime is something that the public eye scrutinizes very much as well. So thank you very much for going into detail with that. I have no problem approving this. I make a motion to approve.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to accept the transfer request. Could I ask you, Counsel, if you could hold for a minute? I have a couple of questions for the Chief as well.
Of course, yeah. I will.
You okay with that? Thank you.
Sure.
Chief, when you mentioned Spree Day for an example, is there a reason why we don't go to the university for reimbursement since it's their event, or do we?
That's a great question, and yes, we do.
Okay.
The university is providing us with $3,000 to add additional forces from our police department. So historically, they provide me with between $3,000 and $5,000 for that spree event. Typically, a spree day event will run anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 in additional manpower. So it offsets it by usually $3,000.
Is there a reason why we don't just get the full reimbursement for having to utilize our staff to support their event?
It's not a sanctioned event by the university.
Okay.
Everything happens on our public streets. So in reality, the university has no obligation even to provide us with the $3,000 because it's not on their property. It's an event that is not sanctioned by the university, but everyone here knows it's been going on for decades. And, you know, we're seeing a decline in it, which is a positive thing. 5 years ago, I would need 40 to 60 police officers out there just to keep things somewhat under control. You know, we could average anywhere from 10 to 40 arrests during a spree day event, but we've seen a decline in it, so that's a positive thing. The spree day is just one scenario that I'm giving you this evening.
The staffing challenges that you're experiencing right now, they're not because of budgetary constraints. I do recall you saying at a previous meeting where we had new recruits,
Yep.
that these new officers don't even hit the street until, what, like 18 months after they're appointed?
Staffing,
So you have how many officers right now that are in training that are not on the front line yet?
staffing has absolutely nothing to do with the budget. We've been very grateful that my budget requests have been fulfilled. In the upcoming FY '23, I requested funding for 83 police officers. Currently, I can tell you we're approximately 69. I have 4 that are active in police academies as we speak. Another 6 will be in the police academy this summer, and we're anticipating another 5 in the academy this fall. Now, all those positions that I'm talking about, it takes a minimum of 12 months before they can fill a shift. That's the time delay that we're dealing with between the time that we hire them, all the regulations that I'm now forced to comply with under police legislation and police reform, get them through the academy for 24 weeks, then get them into FTO training for another 12 weeks. You don't see an employee for a full year.
So you're at 69, you got 4 in the academy, you've got another 6 in the summer, and then 5 that are going to start in the fall, most likely. So you're not going to have those 15 officers, new officers, fully online until the end of probably fiscal year '23,
I'm hoping
or even beyond that.
I'm hoping a little bit sooner.
Okay.
I'm hoping, you know, by January of '23, we start feeling a little bit less of a pinch. And like, it's a perfect storm out there. I'm having less and less candidates wanting to be police officers, less and less candidates we can process. And quite frankly, I'm not even talking about dispatchers right now. We're a full-time hiring agency right now. And let me make it clear, it has nothing to do with the budget. We are fully budgeted. It's just a matter of finding the candidates, hiring the candidates, training the candidates, and getting them out in the street.
I just wanted to have that distinction made, because you mentioned it before, that it's not budgetary. We actually have new recruits in the pipeline, but they take at least a year to come online. So during that lull period, you're at a disadvantage with staffing because you're getting the bodies, but not fast enough. And then obviously you don't know exactly what's going to happen in a year or two with your current staff in terms of retirements, or which would then kick off the whole recruiting process again for another 12 to 14 months. So it's a never-ending cycle, it sounds like, of trying to catch up. I think the DPW is in the same position. You know, there's a lot of funded positions in their budget, but we having difficulty filling them because of qualifications and stuff. So, but not in your case with qualifications, but it's a different issue. But
This year's been a perfect storm. This is my 8th budget. This is the first time I've had to come back and request funding and overtime, as I stated to Councilor Cruz.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
I have never in 8 years as police chief requested additional funding. This year's been a perfect storm. I don't know what next year's going to look like. I requested this to come from available funds because I'm going to have to come in front of this body again to move money around to pay for automotive, gasoline again. It's just, this year has been a challenge, and I think all the department heads in the city would concur with me that there's a lot of challenges we're facing, just not in hiring, but anything to do with budgeting right now.
I was going to say to Councilor Cruz's question about overtime usage, I don't recall in your tenure coming to us for supplementals.
This is the first
This being the
time.
first time clearly would indicate to me, with that legacy knowledge, that there's a real reason why you need more. I actually did the math. You're running at about 550,000 for the year. This would put you at a little over 600,000. So there's a little bit of cushion there for unknowns the next 3 months beyond the burn rate. So the request makes perfect sense to me in terms of your trajectory of how you've been going with the spending on there. So
In actuality, with this request, it will bring me around 635 for the year. Our math may be just a little bit off. Like I said, I feel confident that will bring me, but I can't predict what next weekend's going to bring as far as activity in the city. And, you know, we go where we're called. And when it happens, sometimes police work costs, and it takes money to provide an adequate force in the city.
okay,
Motion to approve?
Second?
motion made and seconded to approve 101-22. If there are no objections, I'll take this under unanimous consent. Seeing none, it is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, councilors.
Councilors, can I just skip over 102-22 for a minute and just ask for a recommendation to hold 103-22 and 104-22 at the recommendation of Auditor Brooks, as these are non-union salary adjustments that require an ordinance with them, and the ordinance has not been supplied yet. So once it is, we'll package that together with the petitions. So I'm asking if we could hold these in committee until we get those ordinances.
Make a motion to hold 103-22 and 104-22?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to hold 103-22 and 104-22. If there are no objections, I'll take that under unanimous consent. Seeing none, they are held. And so last item on the agenda is 102-22. Order that there be and hereby is appropriated the sum of $161,865 same to be charged against wastewater enterprise fund retained earnings and credited to the following wastewater personal services accounts. Technicians, $10,300. Maintenance, $40,861. Operators, $86,006. Overtime, $17,995. Clothing allowance, $3,500. And vacation sick buyback, $3,203. And a letter here from Ms. Davis, Director of Human Resources on this matter, states as follows. Actually, Ms. Davis, you're here, and I lost my place with my notes, so you can just briefly.
Good evening.
Oh, you got the letter? Okay, so the letter just states that kindly be advised that negotiations for fiscal years 2021 to 2023 with the Service Employees International Union, SEIU, Local 888, representing the Wastewater Facilities Group, have concluded. I have attached the signed memorandum of agreement and all related documents pertaining to this collective bargaining agreement. As a result of these successful negotiations, I am requesting an appropriation from available funds in the amount of $161,865. This amount represents the first 2 years of the collective bargaining agreement and associated retroactive wages. And it's not coming out of available funds, it's coming out of the wastewater enterprise fund, their retained earnings account, which is their reserve account. Similar to free cash, but with wastewater, not coming out of the city available funds. Ms. Davis, is there anything like to add to that?
No, the negotiations certainly went successfully. I know that we have a few groups, as we've talked about before, that we really needed to be far more competitive with other municipalities. And this certainly puts us in line, if not exceeds, some communities' rates, especially for the operators, which you will see that's the larger chunk there. Because those are difficult positions to fill. The licensure takes quite a number of years to get. You know, not only in terms of studying and the testing, but then you also need to be in the position, you know, certainly for a certain amount of time for that licensure. So I was very happy that we were able to get these rates certainly more in line and make it easier, because as you know, the chief mentioned and others, it's tough. It's tough hiring, and we need to be able to attract as well as retain, you know, certainly the people, the employees that we have. One little just quick thing, I don't know if all the counselors or even the general public know. This particular group certainly, and I know public safety, I know that fire and police groups have done that, but I just wanted to point out that this particular group, on April 12th of 2020, which was Easter, and we were just kicking in with the pandemic, this group went on a 6-week cycle of living in the wastewater plant 24/7. So I just wanted to, certainly acknowledge that publicly. This was, a group where, again, 7 days a week, they're living 24/7 in the wastewater plant. So I just wanted to put that.
When I had the tour of the wastewater facility 3 or 4 years ago, I was amazed at the amount of equipment, the amount of technology in our plants, the staff, what they have to know how to do what. I mean, very specialized field. And wastewater, kind of like water, you don't really know what they're doing because you never see them. You flush the toilet, or something goes down the drain, your tub, your sink, and you forget about it. But you don't know the process of where that water goes and the whole process of treating that water, and so it successfully discharges in a clean fashion. And so, for counselors who haven't toured the wastewater facility or the water facility, please do. It is a great experience.
Very interesting. It's
I never
amazing
knew
the
anything
stuff you
about it.
learn. You just,
Yeah, it
it's-
really gave me an appreciation for the jobs that these individuals do, and what actually happens when the water leaves your house, and what it means for the community. So I want to thank them for their efforts. They do not go unnoticed by us, and I am pleased to hear that we are keeping our rates, or moving our rates in an area that is competitive for retention and recruitment, because I know for several years it's been a challenge keeping and getting people in these enterprise divisions because of the competitiveness of the pay structure compared to other municipalities. So it's long past overdue to get into that realm of competitiveness.
Any motion to approve?
Second?
Motion made and seconded to approve 102-22. If there are no objections, I'll take this under unanimous consent. Seeing none, it is approved.
Thank you so much.
Entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
We have a motion made and seconded to adjourn. If there are no objections, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Do you need